This is a square, objectively one of the best shapes. Look around and you'll see them everywhere. Sandwiches, mostly squares. Smartphones, long squares. Chessboards, 36 of those glorious things. Triangles, they're just smaller shards of shapes which, when arranged, make up squares. And this is Andrew Gower, a man who likes squares so much, he made a whole fantasy world of them called RuneScape. He then sold RuneScape for $1 squarillion and bought a square island and a square yacht and now lives happily ever after. Except the siren's call of the square was too strong, so he sat down to make another game with even more defined squares, and the game was called Brighter Scape. Rune Shores. Brighter Shores. And it has so many squares. But is it actually any good? Well, come with me on a journey as we join the town guard, grind some fishing, grind some potion making, grind some woodcutting, grind some combat, pedantically nitpick tiny design choices, and then get invited to a max combat party which might even warm the cockles of my frozen, cynical heart. Am I about to smile while playing an MMORPG? Will it be a true Christmas miracle? Let's find out. So welcome, I'm Josh Hayes, and this is Worst MMO Ever, a series where I play every MMO I can find in a journey to find the worst. Drop a like on the video or sub to the channel for more MMO stuff, ring the bell for all the future notifications, and as usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive and let me keep making videos. More information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. And let's start with this. Brighter Shores is in early access. It's not finished. There are major changes coming soon to the leveling system, replacing it with a milestone system. The experience curve is being rebalanced. There are a ton of new features left to add. So I can't critique this as a finished product, but I can critique the experience I had and what I feel it's doing well or not so well. I mean, it's been in early access for almost a year. How are the Steam player charts looking? Oh no, they're not looking good at all. But honestly, after playing for a while, I can kind of tell why. Because not only is there a lack of early game questing content and then an immense grind jump at level 20, but the first impression of the game isn't the most polished. Like how the launch screen looks like a Flash game from the mid-2000s with chunky buttons and placeholder fonts. It's not exactly the most adventurous or exciting thing to start your game with. But a quick note here, Brighter Shores players really don't like it when you compare their game to RuneScape. It's been happening since the birth of the game and it's getting old, so let's just sort this out once and for all. RuneScape is a tile-based fantasy MMORPG created by Andrew Gower where you grind multiple life skills to gather resources, then process those resources into products for experience. It also features click and wait style combat against low-level goblins, a 28-space inventory, and lots of quests. Whereas Brighter Shores is a tile-based fantasy MMORPG created by Andrew Gower where you grind multiple life skills to gather resources, then process those resources into products for experience, and it features click and wait style gameplay against low-level goblins. But get this! Your inventory only has 24 spaces, and there aren't a lot of quests. So not only is it different, it's actually slightly worse. So I make a new character from this character wheel, and we're sent to talk to Captain Jal in a section which is definitely not Tutorial Island, so let's talk about movement. Brighter Shores uses a square grid tile system. Click a tile, a little path appears showing your route to it. Some tiles are higher or lower than others, like raising or lowering the ground in Roller Coaster Tycoon, but you'll just climb up. And get this, it's never a smooth transition, it's always a step up or a step down. In fact, come to think of it, this game has very few diagonal or angled things at all. And I think this is because the running or walking or combat animation is fine on a flat surface, but not good on slopes. So they've just removed all the slopes and made everything a step up or a step down. There's no combat advantage to being on a higher tile, pretty standard stuff so far, but what's unique to this game is the room system. You might think the game world looks a little small. Well, that's because you only see the room or local area you are in. Rooms are connected together and you can see the connections with a little flourish on the connecting tiles like a jigsaw piece. Move to a new room, it loads up, but you only see the players in the room you are in. And if a room fills up with new players, a new one is made. It's basically an instance with a player limit which dynamically add or remove excess copies as it needs to. What this means is Brighter Shores does have a very big, very flat world, but you only ever see a tiny bit of it. There's a setting to always see rooms directly connected to the ones you're in. I've got it on in the later part of this video, but you only see the scenery of other rooms in a ghostly version, never players or NPCs. The square grid movement system combined with the very limited view of only the room you're in means two things. First, there's no verticality. Maps or rooms don't cross over or under each other. There's no multi-layered rooms. Now, there are towers you can climb or steps you can walk up, but they exist on their own tile, and no tile paths ever cross over or under each other. If you look at this game from a bird's eye view from above, it's all there, so the world feels rather flat. And then the square grid locks most scenery or set dressing objects to it, with everything following very straight lines like this cart or treasure chest being lined up, or the skilling station stations, all being placed neatly. Even in the forests or swamps, natural areas, everything sticks to its own tile. There's very little visual flourish which cross from tile to tile or break the grid pattern. This means I eventually felt like I was playing a tile-based board game, like I was moving around an extremely neat copy of Hero Quest, with the DM just adding more table space when it was needed and arranging all the scenery in perfect lines. Brighter Shores feels less like a natural fantasy world and closer to a digital board game. So we chat to Jowl and get asked to join the Town Guard. This gives us our first quest and opens the quest list top right. Opening the quest list up shows every quest in the game and a star difficulty rating for each one. If you hover the cursor over them, it also shows you all the skilling requirements. Clicking a quest gives you a brief description of it, and if there's an NPC or place written in blue, clicking on that will show you on the map where they are. Totally serviceable way to do this. The game is divided into acts, with each act unlocking a new section of the overworld map. To finish an act, complete the single main quest of that area. You can return to any previous area and do all of the unlocked act quests as you like, and you'll see every player in your room regardless of what act they've unlocked. There are side quests within each act that we'll look at later. Clicking on an NPC brings up the context menu. As default, this happens with both the right click and the left click, but why not have left click do the most common action from the menu and right click bring up the menu itself? Well, because that, dear viewer, would be too similar to RuneScape, so we can't be doing that, can we? You can talk or click info, not examine info, different things, which gives you this trading card-like pop-up, a picture and a text box with description text. Now, combine this with the trading card-like icon of defeated enemies that we'll see later, and Brighter Shores really does feel like a board game mechanically and a trading card game aesthetically. And as someone who's dabbled in game design, board games and card games are some of the first things that you try to make, so I can completely understand why Andrew would want to go with this aesthetic. It's familiar. We now have a few objectives. Get a sword from the quartermaster, then learn some basic magic. Grab the sword, so let's talk about the inventory and combat. Inventory, 24 slots. Why 24? Because 28 would have been too close to RuneScape. Keep up. You can click the panel pop-out on the top left to turn the left side of your screen into a multi-purpose UI. I keep this on the map and the inventory for most of my playtime. So we equip the sword, and I'll touch on combat in a minute. The magician then pulls a coin from behind our ear. He truly is magical, and I like how the tool belt screen has a little graphical belt behind it. That's a nice flourish. The tool belt is separate from the inventory slots. It's 9 slots of specific skilling items that we'll find later. We then visit the local portal stone, activate these for free, then open your magic tab and use your teleport spell to return to any activated portal. Each act has a portal stone that you can unlock, and you can teleport to them for free, and some of you might be thinking that's very similar to the lodestone network from RuneScape 3, but no, shut up, it's not. These aren't lodestones, they're portals. It's different. So I pick up this cabbage for old time's sake, but Brighter Shores has a new vegetable. While RuneScape may have made the cabbage famous, here we have leeks. In fact, the games team all have leek-based names, and you'll find most enemies drop leeks early on. Look at Andrew trying to get the kids to eat their vegetables. What a good man. Now we learn the Sense spell, which is bound to spacebar. Pressing it highlights every interactable thing in the current room. NPCs, items, skilling stations, enemies, bank rifts. It's a very useful spell. Then this alarm bell rings. We have to repel a goblin attack. This means rallying the local troops, helping this ranger find the bow she lost down the back of her bunk bed, and this shows us that quest items like the bow we've just found don't use your inventory. Instead, they have a unique quest item slot within the quest description, which, going completely against what God intended, is not made up of squares. Look at that shape. Heresy. So we hand the bow back, go and repel the goblin invasion, so behold, combat. Wait, sorry, that's footage from RuneScape. Brighter Shores, behold, combat. Right, should probably talk about combat, shouldn't we? This is the weapon screen. You can have 3 weapons equipped at any time. A single hand and shield set, a 2-handed melee weapon, and a ranged weapon. While in combat, you cannot change or equip new armor or new weapons, but you can freely switch between the 3 sets you had previously equipped. Different weapons have different attack speeds, and amazingly, and against years of video game training and logic, the 2-handed weapon actually attacks slightly faster than most 1-handed weapons. The trade-off being you lose the defensive buff of a shield, which, as we'll see later, is kind kind of needed. A weapon will show you its impact damage at the top, and then if it has an element, it will show a percentage chance. This is the chance that any hit with this weapon will do that type of elemental damage instead of normal impact damage. So if you have an ice sword, it's not necessarily a sword of ice, it's a sword which is cold a certain percent of the time. Most enemies won't aggro on you. The ones that do have a little exclamation mark pop up above them. When you start combat, you can choose which weapon you want to start the attack with, and then just kind of wait for hits to happen. I know the Brighter Shores player base get annoyed when you compare it to RuneScape, but what else am I going to compare this to? Come on. Work with me here. But what about ranged weapons? Can you kite enemies around or safe spot them? Well, kind of, but also no. See, ranged weapons work like this. Depending on the ranged weapon you have equipped, you only have 3 or 4 ammo for it at any time. They are designed to grab the enemy's attention from at least a 5-tile range, fire off the ammo they have until the enemy is within melee range, and then you switch to your melee weapon anyway. So you can't be a pure ranger. Then, whenever a fight ends, you recover all your health and all of your ranged ammo. But it's got to be more complex than that, right? Well, kind of. Most weapons will have an elemental power. You can see what elemental infusion enemy attacks have by clicking on the enemy portrait while in combat, and every piece of armor shows the defenses it provides against each element. The damage types are impact, which is just being slapped, then ice, nature, lightning, fire, and necrotic. However, Brighter Shores is cool and edgy and special, so has renamed these to all end in the letters AE. So instead of ice, you have Cryone. Instead of nature, you have Arbore, and then Tempeste, Infernae, and Necrome, because, you know, that makes it cool. The combat UI also has space for special attacks, which aren't in the game yet, so it's literally just a click and wait system with the occasional potion chug, and we'll get to potions later. So for armor, just equip the best against whatever element you know you're about to be facing, and for weapons, just equip the best as long as the enemy isn't immune to it and you'll be fine. But what is best? We'll get to that soon, because that's an issue I have with the game later. Right now, combat is only one-on-one. Multiple players cannot fight the same enemy, multiple enemies cannot attack you. They clearly operate on the honor system. Kind of like, nope, I'm not going to say it, it's too easy. Winning any fight gives you combat experience, which levels your generic combat level. It's an overall level for every style. To see what you should be fighting, open your profession window and click on the combat icon. This is a list of all the enemies in the game and their level. If you've discovered an enemy, you can click on the map icon by the enemy to show where in the world it is. And the little white card next to it, that's the first kill bonus. The first time you kill a new enemy, you get a rather substantial experience point boost. So it's worth hunting and killing everything. We'll come back to professions later, but for now, we help a guy I can only describe as a pimp move some cargo to the town square, and in return, he teaches us the Storage Rift spell, which lets you activate a Storage Rift tile as a bank to deposit storage items. Think of them like fast deposit boxes in another not similar game. But how does banking work? Well, we'll get to that soon. Look, Brighter Shores is a game with a lot of systems which all kind of stack and combine, so there's no real way to ease you into them without explaining all of them at once, so I'm just trying to pace myself here. One of the guards got injured during the goblin attack, so we need to make a healing potion. This means chatting to Ebsworth, the apothecary. He sends us to get some kelp from the West Beach. This sends us into more goblin fights, and unless you deliberately walk around and interrupt the attack animation, you really can't lose. I also like how I'm still named Anonymous Player. You don't earn a name until you've saved this guard. We make our way to the beach, and as we go, see the stuff with question marks above them? These are enemies, profession items, or skilling stations that we've not discovered yet, so click on them to discover them, which adds them to your profession list and unlocks the map icon within that list. Like how once you've discovered a flounder fish, it will show up as discovered in the fishing profession. But notice how I've also discovered higher levels of that fish now too. Don't worry, I'll explain layers and variants later because it's part of the game. We forage for brown kelp by clicking on this tile, and this increases our forage skill. Then we return to the potion maker, use the brown kelp to make a potion, which increases our potion making skill, give this to the guard, which increases our giving guards potion skills. Then we learn the immunity spell, which you can cast outside of combat to prevent combat happening for a while, or inside combat by clicking the little central red button to escape. It only takes a few seconds to cast. The captain then tells us to advance the main quest, we need to train our combat level to 15 and then our total home port level to 40. This means all professions inherent to the home port area, because professions are area specific. For example, chopping down trees, that's an Act 2 profession, but potion making, that's an Act 1 profession. So now the game begins proper, and I can finally explain the framework of Brighter Shores because it's literally just grinding. Let's work through the process with one profession because it's basically the same with all of them. Let's take foraging because it's simple. At level 0, you can forage for brown kelp. This just means clicking the brown kelp respawns until you have gained enough experience to reach level 2 and unlock creamy wall plant. These need secateurs together, so go and buy them from the foraging shop. Then go click on creamy wall plant until you reach level 4. Then go and click on white periwinkle until you reach level 6. Then go and click on crooked goat horn until you reach level 8. Then go and click on horn shells until you reach level 10. Are you getting the vibe of where we're going with this? At low levels, it's something new every 2 levels. Then as you advance, it becomes every 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8 levels. And currently, the max forage level is 490. But how about fishing? Because this introduces layering, or the variant system. Go and buy a fishing spear from the fishing shop. Then go and click mottled flounder until you reach level 2, then lesser eels to level 4, sandy pufferfish to level 6, then olive flounders to level 8. But wait, isn't this the same place we were catching mottled flounders earlier? Yes, it is. Well observed. But now variants happen, which affect the base type of a thing based on your level. Some skilling nodes have a master type and then a subtype, normally the first word of the name, which changes based on your level. For example, the flounder, that's a skilling node, and it's a type of fish. At level 0 fishing, you catch mottled flounders. Once you hit level 6, return to the same place, the flounder place, and you'll now be catching olive flounders for more experience. But if you right-click a skilling node, like the fish, you can select past action and revert it to a lower-leveled version, in case you need that version for a potion or a recipe. This means when you see other high-level players catching the same fish as you, or fighting the same enemy, or foraging for the same item, they're actually catching or fighting or foraging a different higher-leveled variant of the same thing. This is why the professions list tells you that you've already discovered the locations of higher level skilling things. You've discovered the base location, they're just a different variant of that base skilling node. This means Brighter Shores is genuinely that MMO meme of a guy fighting crabs that change color when he gets higher level. Like, I know that palette swapping is a thing for higher leveled stuff, but to have the exact same base thing and then just palette swap it to a higher level version of itself, I mean, that's new. Credit where credit's due. RuneScape didn't do that. Well done, this is original. Now, one good thing. This does keep all the player base kind of together, with a range of different leveled players all fishing or all fighting in the same place, so the world does feel kind of alive. You can even see the damage numbers that other players are hitting, and they are way above what you're hitting. But it also means you end up looping back to familiar places often and catching the same looking fish or fighting the same looking enemies again and again and again and again and again, and combine this with how skilling nodes are client-side, meaning another player cannot take your fish, for example, and how combat is only ever one-on-one, and how trading, well, that's locked behind reaching Act 4, which a regular player absolutely will not do, and Brighter Shores is very much a game which you play alone together. It's a bunch of people soloing an MMO, and I've got no problems with an MMO game facilitating solo play. I like when I can choose to go off and do my own thing in an MMO, but this isn't just allowing solo play, it's kind of only allowing it. Like, if you and a mate both start playing Brighter Shores together, you're not playing it together. You're just together while playing it. You can't attack the same enemy or train different skills to support each other, and even if you could, it would be weeks until that relevance matters. Completing Act 1 means leveling my home port level to 40. That's any combination of foraging, fishing, cooking, and potion making adding up to 40, and thankfully these skills do support each other, but this means interacting with the banking system. Brighter Shores doesn't have a banking system, because that would make it too RuneScape-like, so instead it has several smaller banks which all hold specific things which can only be accessed in a specific place. Now that might sound needlessly complicated, but get this, it's also got a bad UI. So imagine you've spent a long day gathering kelp. You can't just go to the bank and give them kelp. This isn't Gelinor. So instead you cast the Storage Rift Portal spell, which opens up a special portal on special tiles, and throw all the kelp in. This does not go to a central bank because there isn't one. Kelp is a potion reagent. It will only ever be used in that skill, so it will go to your potion reagent bank. Fish, for example, are ingredients for the cooking skill, so they go to the ingredients bank. Wood from trees is Act 2 timber, so it goes to the timber bank. Currently, there are 16 unique banks. Then there will be a bank access point to that specific thing next to the processing station which needs that thing. So a potion making shop will always have a potion reagent access point. A kitchen will have an ingredient access point. A sawmill will have a timber access point. You get the idea. This means there's no way to check what you have in every bank at the same time. You have to manually go to the profession places and check the access point of that bank. So can you throw equipment drops into the storage rift and have them sent to the quartermaster bank? No, you can't. Why would you think you could do that? For equipment, and equipment only, you must cast the Quartermaster portal spell, which doesn't need a specific tile, you can cast it anywhere, and this lets you instantly bank all equipment you're carrying. Because that's the way we're doing this, don't question it. Now, at first, I thought, okay, maybe this portal system is done so you can bank your combat drops if you're grinding, but if you want to go and find rare materials, you have to travel out into the wild, then you have to gather them, and then to find more valuable stuff, you have to hold a full inventory and then travel back to a rift portal stone and bank them, and it takes a long time. But honestly, the first few portal stones I found seems to be pretty plentiful. You're never more than 3 or 4 rooms from a storage rift, so they're not really that rare. So let's take a look at using skills in combat. You've caught some fish. Can you cook it and eat it to restore health? Can you do that in RuneScape? Yes, you can. Therefore, can you do it in Brighter Shores? No, you can't. Instead, fish here is an ingredient in the cooking skill. To cook stuff, you have to go to the kitchen, then prepare the ingredients on the correct skilling apparatus, then combine them into the complete thing. For example, the most basic thing you can make is a basic bacon sandwich. Just like all the other skills, the chef skill has layers, so eventually you'll be able to make a better bacon sandwich, but now basic. To do this, you need bread and raw bacon. How do you make bread? You don't. You buy it from this guy, Kevin, who stands outside on the street and has everything you'll ever need. Then you need bacon. Where do you gather bacon from? A pig? No. You buy it from Kevin outside on the street. Wasn't kidding. Guy's got everything. Then you use the bacon with a frying pan to make basic cooked bacon. Then you use the preparation table to combine the cooked bacon with the bread and make a bacon sandwich. Then finally you have a completed bit of food. Now, can you eat this to get health back or a stamina buff or something? No, of course you can't, because that would be too much like RuneScape. In fact, you can't eat literally any of the food you make in this entire game. The only purpose of food is to sell to the head chef and make money from. So you buy ingredients from Kevin and make bacon sandwiches until you can make lesser jellied eels. Hey, that means we can use the lesser eels we caught in the fishing skill, but this dish also needs gelatin. Where do we get that? You guessed it, Kevin, outside on the street. Almost all dishes need some form of supplementary ingredient, and Kevin sells them all, which means you'll be running back and forth from him to the prep station every few minutes. Kevin, you could save everyone a lot of time by just standing inside the kitchen. So the chef profession only exists to make money, not make useful food. How do we heal in combat then? Well, for that you need potions, which means the foraging profession. Head to the potion shop, read the big book of potions and see that you can make basic health potions, and they restore 25% of your health. You need brown kelp and creamy wall plant, so go forage for those things. Then from your reagent bank, withdraw 12 of each and interact with the reagent prep station to mix up some basic healing preparation mix. Then when you've got the mix ready to go to the standard prep station and mix up some healing potions, but you'll need a bottle. So go to the shopkeeper and buy some bottles. Bottles don't get reused when you drink a potion, you just throw the bottle away like the thoughtless litter bug you are. Now Josh, you might be thinking, combining 2 specific ingredients into a bottle to make a potion sounds pretty RuneScape-like, but think this through. You're wrong. The bottle isn't full of water, and it's called a bottle, not a vial. Totally different. And when you've got a few potions, you can then equip them. You can have 2 different types of potions equipped at once, and up to 1,000 doses of each. So, you know those Eastern MMO mobile potion chugging games that I mock because combat just becomes an endurance challenge of, do you have enough potions to survive this? Well, yeah, I think this is a point where you probably should have copied RuneScape. And I hope you like the taste of the basic 25% health potion, because you're not unlocking the next, the 30% health potion, until potion mixing level 33, which as a casual player, you're not reaching for a few weeks. Because the reagents needed for that are green kelp, which needs 45 foraging, and vibrant wall plant, which needs 51 foraging, and that's just potentially months of casual play. So it's a grind game with lots of gathering and processing, and only potions, weapons, and armor really matter. Maybe I should go and do combat. Maybe I should get a bow. But nope, you must be combat level 15 to be trained in the use of a bow. They're too complicated for you otherwise. So I head to the main square and see a few people running around. I discover a high-level death crow. While you cannot interact with profession things you don't have the required level for, you can absolutely attack any enemy at any level, meaning you can die very easily, and when you die, you respawn at the infirmary in Hopeport. Nothing is lost. There's actually a quest start at the infirmary, but I didn't realize this at the time. The quest is way too hard for me, so I've accepted it, but I will not be doing it. So let's talk about quests. Normally in other MMORPGs, like, I don't know, let's just pick a completely random one, RuneScape, quests are adventures you can go on to explore the world, meet the locals, and importantly, they replace the repetitive grind with actual stories. Quests give experience rewards, which means you can progress in the game through doing quests. But in Brighter Shores, there are very few quests currently in the game, and being allowed to do a quest is essentially a reward for going through the grind. Even the 2 or 3 star difficulty quests in the first area aren't part of a flowing quest chain, with the lower ones giving you the levels you need to unlock the later ones. They're locked behind at a casual pace 2 to 3 weeks of grinding. And that's if you don't forget to do your AFK logout experience, which we'll look at later. There's no getting around it. Brighter Shores is a bare-bones game about grinding. Now, it does have quests. Hell, it has combat mechanics we'll see later. But they're hours and hours in. So you're going to have a new player excited to experience the stories or the mechanics in your world, and the stories aren't there, and the mechanics are trapped behind hours of grind. Why? The side quest I've picked up needs me to find a lunar fruit and a siren's scale, which are both way above my ability level right now, so I explore around, get attacked, cast the immunity spell, and enjoy some good old running away. You can also use the minimap to move, or the world map, but you can only auto-move within the circle of influence. You can see it on the map, so every 4 or 5 rooms away. I return to the training ground, kill a guard, and get a better sword. Now, items do drop onto the floor, but graphically it's not the actual item that drops, it's a small square with a picture of the item on it, because Andrew just can't help himself. The man just gosh darn loves squares. I decide to start the easiest quest, Obelisk, so I chat to the guards on the wall. He's about to open some new equipment, but then a goblin shows up and steals the key, so we give chase, and he's too powerful for me to kill right now, so I spend some time grinding birds, and then a purple shield drops, so rarity. Some items have item levels. Pretty standard stuff. You can equip bronze when you start, then iron, steel, mithril, wait, nope, sorry, wrong game. You can equip any item as long as you meet the combat level shown. But items also have rarities, common, uncommon, rare, and epic, shown with the white, blue, purple, or orange color background and 1, 2, 3, or 4 stars on the item description. When you equip a new item, you'll see a little red and green arrow showing the increase or decrease to every stat, which is lovely. But it's important to note, a level 5 rare item will likely be better than the same item in level 20 common. In fact, if you get a low-level epic item, chances are it will remain better than almost anything you get until you get another epic item of a higher level. I know this because I found an epic weapon and was still using it hours later. But can you make your own items? Oh, don't worry. We'll get to that. We'll get to that real soon. We're at that now. No, you can't. Well, okay, you kind of can, but only with the profession you unlock in Act 3, and a new player isn't going to get to Act 3 anytime soon. Basically, at low levels, you are entirely reliant on the armor and weapon drops you get from enemies, which means get lucky, you're set quickly, get unlucky, and you're grinding for a few hours longer. So you know what? There's another difference. RuneScape is a game with a player-controlled economy where you can specialize into a specific thing, like blacksmithing or fishing, and then you can buy the raw materials off other players, make things, sell your goods, and make money, meaning you have a level of agency over the items you can create and use, and you don't need to engage with all of the game to progress at it. While Brighter Shores gatekeeps player-to-player trading behind the 4th act, which is literally weeks, maybe months of casual grind away, so if you're a new player, you're forced to become self-sufficient at absolutely everything, leveling all skills, which is basically an Iron Man gameplay, but none of these skills give you any real level of control over which combat items you will get. It's mostly luck. Now, I have a feeling that at least some control over creating your own equipment at low levels is something an MMO needs to have from the start, so you're not totally at the mercy of RNGesus. I mean, even Genfenard had that, and that was based on RuneScape, for God's sake. Push through the combat grind to level 10, return to the obelisk and kill the goblin for the key, open the chest and get given a mallet and a task. Go to the Homeport obelisk and enchant it, so I run off to find the obelisk. But I don't know where it is, so I get lost. I run into the jungle and discover a load of new enemies. I reach the Dwarven city gates and get denied entry. I find the local local restaurant, and eventually I do find the obelisk, but I can't enchant the mallet because the obelisk is broken. One of the spikes has fallen off. We're told to head downstream to find it, and I love how you actually follow the flow of water to find the spike. That's a great touch. Unfortunately, even with the spike, we can't fix the obelisk because it's not just broken, it's magically broken. We get given a tablet with some strange symbols, show this to a local philosopher, get some more tablets, and now you need to solve the obelisk puzzle, which means placing 4 tablets onto the 4 plinths around the obelisk. The trick is the main tablet shows the positions, but it's upside down. Doing this summons a Cryo Knight, a powerful ice warrior and one of the 3 factions we'll get to join later. They can't fix the obelisk because my magical suppression field is stopping them doing it, so we chat to the captain and add cryoknight.exe as a magical firewall exception. Then they fix the obelisk, and now we learn about enchanting. You can pay silver to permanently enchant your skilling tools like fishing rods or foraging trowels. This adds a small % experience boost to that tool, meaning you'll level slightly faster. The enchant is added to the tool slot in general, not the specific tool within the slot. So if you enchant your fishing rod, then buy a better fishing rod, it's still enchanted. There are currently 100 levels of enchanting with a boost of up to 20% extra experience. So we enchant the mallet, return it to the captain, finish the quest, and get a sword and a bunch of experience. Now look, if I could just do quests like this, I would, but there aren't enough quests in the game, so back to grinding. Forage for kelp. Then move on and forage for creamy wall plants. Then move on and forage for white periwinkles. And I'm starting to realize skilling nodes of a certain type are all kind of close together to each other. As in, all the white periwinkles are in this room. It's not like they grow randomly around the place or are spread evenly around. They're all here. You'll notice this with trees in the forest too. Each specific tree grows within a tight clump of rooms, normally quite far from the next tier of tree you'll unlock, which means you're moving around quite a lot. Reach level 6 foraging. Goat horn unlocked. I need a trowel, but they cost 46 silver and I have 9, so it's time to make some money. With fishing, there's always money in fishing. I can't afford a fishing spear. With bacon sandwiches, there's always money in bacon sandwiches. So I spend some time making bacon sandwiches, then turning some forage stuff into potions, and eventually I can buy a fishing spear and get to stabbing some fish. Why not a fishing rod? You know why not. I check the obelisk to enchant my fishing spear, and it would cost me 55 silver to give myself a 0.4% boost. That's just not worth it at this level. So I pop into the menu and increase the graphics. Oh yeah, now we're gaming! We've gone from looking like RuneScape to looking like RuneScape with particle effects. I sell some fish, catch some eels, and Brighter Shores is grindy, yes, but credit where it's due. It's got a cozy vibe to it. There's a comfort in knowing exactly what you need to be doing, a safety net. Brighter Shores doesn't really ask much of you. It's got more in common with farming games than action adventures. Playing Brighter Shores feels like sitting in a warm, cozy coffee shop with a nice hot chocolate, ambient music playing, watching people walk through the gentle snowfall outside. It's a slower-paced game. It's soothing in a rather dull but expected way. Reach level 10 fishing, do more combat, hit level 15, then go and learn how bows work. I still think the you have 3 or 4 arrows every combat is silly design that's only done because they will do anything to not be similar to RuneScape. Then I find the cape shop, and you need to be combat level 50 for a basic cape. I've reached 15 quite quickly, so surely 50 isn't that far off. Spoiler, 50 is that far off. I grind whatever enemy my profession log says I should be grinding at the time. Everything seems to have the same drop chance of any item, so you can't really grind for a specific item because that design would be, you guessed it, too close to RuneScape. So I grind more, and even with the weapons and armor drops, I'm not really feeling that much stronger level to level, which is fine because the game currently has 2,000 combat levels, but my ranged attack is so weak it's not really worth using. It's more of a formality. It's just a pity arrow at this point. Finally, I get a weapon with elemental damage, but it's just worse than my current one in every way, so I sell it, then I get some new armor. Ribbed guard legs, designed for her pleasure. I go back to feral beasts, and then it happens. An epic weapon drop, an epic guard's canbow, and this weapon, even dropping at this low level, will be the one I use for the rest of this playthrough. It's just that good, so I'm excited to see how powerful this thing is. I equip it, I go to attack, and watch this! The enemy is immune. Brilliant, what an anticlimax. So random camera thing here as well. You can swing the camera around by holding the scroll wheel down like a button, but if you click the enemy or your own portrait in battle and get the info card pop up, or if you right click to get context options on anything, or open the quest list, or basically if you do anything which makes a box or a window pop up, you can no longer move the camera while that window is open. It's like the pop-up overrides the game world and you have to dismiss the pop-up before the world reacts to your clicks again, which is weird. Eventually hit level 20 and unlock the knowledge and passive training system, so here we go. As you gain experience in anything, you'll gain knowledge percent. When you hit 100, you'll get a knowledge point. You can then spend this point on a chunk of experience in any skill over level 20, or convert it to money, or save it for later. Or, and this is what you will be doing, you can unlock passive training methods. Every skill has them. At 20 combat, that's the street louse enemy. Once you've unlocked a passive training method, just head to that thing, start doing it, then log out. You can find them quite easily on the minimap. They've all got a blue dot. You'll keep doing that thing for 24 hours from every logout. So Brighter Shores does have a passive offline training method, which encourages you to log in daily. It's slower than actively fighting stuff. In my How Many MMOs Can I Play at Once video, I did the passive fishing method. But I decided to do some maths on this combat method. I'm getting 16 experience per kill of a louse, and I have 21,419 experience left to level up. That's 1,339 louse to level. Killing one takes me roughly 23 seconds. That means it'll take 515 minutes, or roughly 8.5 hours of passive grind for one level. So you can get it overnight. I mean, at least I could do something else while the offline grind is happening, like play another similar MMORPG. I get some boots from a crow, only usable by a hammer mage, one of the game's 3 factions, so I hold on to them for later. Buy a trowel and my epic adventure in digging up old bones begins, and once sufficiently boned I can now forage for shells, truly a tale for the ages. This NPC is called Turnaround, and if you examine him, the description says, a bright-eyed navigator. Never change, Andrew. Never change. Now, hitting level 20, as the game is right now, is a real moment, because it's one of the game's multiple experience drop-off points. 1 to 20 is kind of fine. The experience gap between those levels is smooth and somewhat fast, but 20 onwards, oh boy. From level 20 to level 21 is the same amount of experience needed to go from level 1 to level 15. The next major experience cliff happens at level 200, as going from level 199 to level 200 in anything takes 559,000 experience. But 200 to 201 is 2.28 million. That's almost 4 times as much. Being a casual player, you can be expected to hit level 20 in any profession, but the moment you do, that's when the grind begins. I reached level 10 foraging, so now it's off to cooking. That means jellied eels, so back to Kevin, the god of ingredients, and after jellying enough eels I can make omelettes, which only need eggs, so that would seem to be the most time-efficient method to train cooking, just 1 item needed. Where do you get eggs? Are you thinking, from a chicken coop? No, you're wrong, and you know why you're wrong? Because it would be too similar to the other game that this isn't. In this game you buy them from Kevin, almighty master of ingredients. But remember, you can't continue the main quest until you are a certain Hope Port level, which means somewhere there is a guard watching me throw mountains of hot egg at this guy for hours and thinking, yeah, this is the guy. This is the guy we want defending the city. Then sausages and mash, in case there was any doubt this is an English game. Also, note if a meal has multiple preparation steps needed, like preparing the potatoes, you don't get experience per step, you only get experience for the final product. Apart from in potion making, where you do get experience per preparation step. And the final product as well. Why the inconsistency between professions? Well, let me think. Because giving the player experience per potion making step makes it different to RuneScape, where all the experience is given at the end. Level 2 potion making, I can now make a 5% experience boost potion, but only for Hope Port, the place I am in now, and it lasts for 2 minutes, meaning the time it would take to gather, make, stack, then drink the potions, I could have just done the thing I was going to do anyway. I'm sure this is useful once you're dealing with tens of thousands of experience points, but 5% as a boost is basically useless, and I don't want to do anything that reminds me of the harsh reality of only lasting 2 minutes. While the profession list also tells you what potions you can make, it doesn't list the ingredients that you need for each. You need to go back to the big book of recipes for that, then just remember. I finally reach Hope Port level 40 and return to the main quest. We are now allowed to leave Hope Port and journey into Hope Forest. That's its actual name, presumably by walking through the Hope Gate along the Hope Ground and joining our fellow Hope Guards. Welcome to Act 2, which brings with it botany, woodcutting, and carpentry. Remember, professions are linked to acts, so if you want to cut down a tree, you'll be doing it in the Act 2 area. Even if you return to Hope Port, there are no trees there that you can cut down, because that's an Act 1 area. So this act begins as all RPG second acts do, by playing hide and seek with your fellow guards. We have to track down some lost guards by interacting with stuff, then we agree to split up and go and look faster, and I love how if you go the wrong way, the game does call you out for that. We then find a mutant stag attacking a magical dryad, so we get involved and save the dryad, and the dryad then gives us a mission to hunt down the darkness in the forest, and now we've found the new main plot. The dryad leaves us to a magical cave, and we must now take part in a ceremony called the pooling. We learn we are a receptacle, a human with innate magic magical ability, so we must now join one of the 3 factions to protect the world from Vilzax, an ancient and powerful thing, possibly magic, no one's quite sure. So we must step into a pool and join the ice-using Cryonites, the lightning-using Hammer Mages, or the nature-using Guardians, which are absolutely not Zamorak, Saradomin, and Guthix, and this pool map isn't the 3 team portals from Castle Wars. Don't even think that they're remotely similar, because Zamorak is red and the Hammer Mages are yellow. Totally different. So I decide to follow Saradomin and become a Cryonite, which doesn't seem to change anything, except now I've got a cool dragon symbol in combat and I can't wear the boots I found earlier. The Druid then sends us to the northeast of the forest, and Hope Forest is much bigger than Hopeport, so I hope I don't get Hope lost, but through the power of Hope clicking on the Hope minimap, I reach a giant Hope crystal. We then find one of the guards we were looking for has been infected by this crystal's evil, so we save them by killing them. Then learn the crystal is corrupting the forest and we need some magical MacGuffins to purify it. Thankfully, the first of these MacGuffins is a pair of beetles found in the connecting room, so grab them, give them to the Dryad, and now begins the adventure to find the sparkly things to stop the magical stuff so the forest isn't evil or something. The questline tells me one of the magical MacGuffins is behind some bramble, which means we need 10 woodcutting to chop, so I guess Act 2, just like Act 1, will require some grind. This room is also called the Road to Nowhere, and entering it makes you feel dizzy and says, "You forgot what you are doing and turn around." No, game, I didn't forget what I was doing. If you're going to have a magical looping forest room, that's fine. Just let the player try to leave it and loop them back into it, like Zelda. Don't tell me I forgot what I'm doing. Being in Act 2 brings new quests. The quest list shows them off, and the most basic Act 2 quest needs 20 woodcutting and 29 carpentry, so that's not being done. We know the other MacGuffins are guarded by a multi-headed beast, and one of them is beyond a river. I then meet a beekeeper and accidentally accept a quest I will not be able to do for several weeks. I hunt down Libby, Maybe, Phoebe, Shelby, Ruby, and Barbie, a collection of bees. Oh, Brighter Shores has silly and fun quests, which remind me of another MMORPG quite similar to it. Then I find the 2-headed bear boss, so let's try and kill it. And is that... oh my god, yes it is! It's combat mechanic time! So let's break this fight down because it gets a bit complicated. Occasionally you'll see some red tiles. Step out of the red. And that's the bear's combat mechanics. I hope I didn't overwhelm you. I'm fine that this has an AoE mechanic. That's great. The problem with it is when you see it, click to walk out of it. Pretty simple. But I then discovered that clicking doesn't actually disengage you from the act of attacking. So if you click straight backwards, then yeah, you'll walk away from the enemy. But if you click to walk past the bear, while you're assuming your avatar will just head straight to whatever tile you've clicked on, they won't. They will still do the melee attack animation if you are still close enough and you have an attack phase coming up, meaning you can delay your own movement by quite a lot. Basically, when you click to move, you don't move. You kind of keep moving and attacking if that's possible, which means you can just stay in AoE range when you kind of thought you'd be out of it. Then when you are out of it, you can switch to your ranged weapon to get a few points of damage in. But if you fire your last arrow, you'll then instantly switch back to your melee weapon and walk back into melee range automatically, meaning you can sometimes get back into an AoE without clicking to do that. Eventually I die to the bear boss, respawn in the Hopeport Hope Garrison, so run back to the Hope Forest to uncover more of the Hope map. I find the Botanist training room. I read a book. And why does this UI look different? Oh, I see. We're taking notes from the Adventure Quest School of Consistency. I find Timberwell Green. This is the Act 2 town space. We learn they're being attacked by bandits and this guy's being pestered by a giant bee. That's one of the bees we need, but I need a smoker to capture it, so it's not happening. I find a shopkeeper, then a clothing dye shop, which needs the rainbow water ingredient to dye stuff, find the carpentry workshop, then a local lumberjack offers to pay us for splitting logs. But you need 50 woodcutting to do this. 50. So you can cut down giant trees in the forest from 2, 4, 6, or 8, but splitting small chunks of logs on a stump, that takes 50. I will never understand MMORPG design. I then wander into a goblin camp. Thankfully they're not arguing over armor colors. Then I try woodcutting. What implement do you think you need to chop down a tree? That's right. A saw. Why a saw and not a hatchet? Well, it's pretty bloody obvious, isn't it, guys? Because RuneScape did, so we don't. I go to kill some stuff to get some coins and finally actually have a chat with someone. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, Sir Gar. You made the grind almost bearable. Then a rapier weapon drops, which I'm told is one of the best weapon types because it attacks fastest, so just does more damage, but it's so much weaker than my main epic stick. I find some throwing axes, then get a new plate armor drop, which is worse than my leather armor because of the rarity system. But there is a transmog system. Maybe I can make my good leather armor look like a cool plate, but nope, transmogs is only for specific holiday items, mostly hats. I head to the goblin in camp and time how long one level now takes me. 20 minutes of grinding. In this time, I discover right-clicking an item in the inventory doesn't bring up the context menu, only left-clicking does. Don't know why. I buy a handsaw and get to felling some trees and notice a strange quirk of design. When you gain a level, you will see the level up track appear, which shows you what you've unlocked if you've unlocked anything, and then what you're working towards. But this track only seems to show up when two conditions are met. First, you must have gained a level. And second, you must not actively be doing anything else in the game. And moving counts as doing something else. So if I level up after chopping a tree down, provided I then keep clicking on new trees to chop or new tiles to move to, the level up track just won't pop up. It's not game breaking, it's just an odd quirk. It's like there's a queue of actions which needs to happen and everything takes precedent over the level up track appearing. Reach level 4 woodcutting, go and chop a pine tree, but guess what? Now you need a hatchet. Okay, you can have one, you cheeky chap. You've put up with us for long enough. So I go and buy one, can't afford one, back to goblins, get coins, buy a hatchet, kill trees. Eventually reach level 10 and can cut the brambles for the main quest, so I explore around and reach Nectar Crossing, which is a timing-based movement puzzle. You need to avoid the ants, otherwise they knock you out and carry you back to the start, and this is honestly quite difficult. I get furthest through sheer luck before giving up. I explore for a while, but honestly the forest is so big I have to do what any good RuneScape player would do. I use the wiki, and Brighter Shores does have a wiki. Grab the glowing mushroom, one item down, turn some ash logs into planks, go and fix the ferry, fight another boss. Actually an interesting one this time. The giant mutant newt attacks the ferry and damages the planks of the ferry. You need to attack the newt, then, while it's repositioning, fix one of the 3 damaged planks. Actually quite a good mechanic. Cross the river safely, find the glowing fern, try the 2-headed bear boss again, die again, go and make a load of potions again, and while making potions, this happens. And maybe it's a chance encounter. Maybe it's a Christmas miracle. Maybe I'm visited by all 3 ghosts condensed into one mega revelation and very high combat level player. The player, Rafello, says hi. He recognizes my name, he's watched a few of my vids. He invites me to his party happening in 15 minutes. He's about to hit 2000 combat, maximum level. He's the 24th player to ever do so, so if you put all those players into an inventory, he would be the last to fit. He's got his clan invited to celebrate. He's put a shout out on the forums, Discord, Reddit. He's got people coming down. Now, it may not be many, but some will hopefully turn up. He says he'll head to the endgame area, get the level, then meet people back in the main square before heading to the cape shop to buy the 2000 combat cape. So sure, I'll join. That's one hell of an achievement. I head to the main square. The usual fountain is replaced with the Christmas event snowman. Players are collecting snowballs and adding them to it, so I join in. It's fun, even get some experience for doing it. Then people turn up. A lot of people turn up, and Rafello gets his max combat, and we all head to the cape shop and learn the cape shop can only hold 14 players before making a new instance, but thankfully the main square has a higher player cap. And everyone does the immunity emote and spams congrats messages, and everyone just supports and is happy, and Rafello is happy, and that's all that really matters. This video series has been about exploring MMOs, seeing virtual worlds most people will never see, enduring mechanics most gamers won't endure, seeing what we can find along the way, cracking some jokes, mocking mechanics, archiving games in some cases before they die, but ultimately, my opinion on these games doesn't really matter because they're not made just for me or my pedantic nitpicking. They're made for people like Rafello and his guildmates and the community on Discord. And seeing that community come together to celebrate this reminded me of that. I don't need to love Brighter Shores. You don't need to love it, but these guys do, and that's great. That should exist. That's fine. They understand the game more than I ever will. So I ask Rafello, as he seems to be the most qualified of us, if Brighter Shores is the worst MMO ever, and he says it's the best to him. And that's all that really matters. So I go and kill the 2-headed bear, I get the magical honey, I purify the corrupted crystal, then I get sent to clear the evil mines, but the mines need permission to enter from the Hope Port captain, so I go and ask for permission, and I need level 36 combat and 45 Hope Forest total. Are you having a laugh, game? No. I do try though. I go back to the goblins and grind for literal hours. I unlock the back alley thug passive method, I spend the knowledge point to unlock them, go and start a fight, log out, set a 5-hour timer, log back in, I've gained 2/5 of a level. Finishing this quest would take days or weeks of combined active and passive play, and I just don't love it enough to keep doing that. So Brighter Shores, it's not RuneScape, despite a lot of evidence to the contrary. It's fine. Good for passive experience gain if you want an idle game to play in the background. It's not finished. It feels like the skeleton for a solid game is here, but it's missing the flesh. Maybe in time it will be added. The community rallying around an achievement warmed my cold, dead heart, but ultimately it's way too grindy for me. I've only got a space for a few ultra grindy games in my life, and they have already been taken up. But I guess being reminded that at the heart of every MMORPG, of every level of success, is a community of connected, supported people. That was the message this game was trying to send to me. And it did. Raffello did. And at Christmas, no less. So I logged into Shores and got to the grinding, but support and compassion is what I ended up finding. And I heard them rejoice as I logged out to fight. Merry Christmas to all, and to all, a good cryo night. I ended on level 26, so to win the video I'll award Brighter Shores 26 out of 2,000. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. Check the description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, Insta, and Discord. And as always, have a great day.